I'm Sarah Janice Brown, and I'm just so excited to have you guys joining me today. We have a bunch of questions, like 20 something questions from our fun schooling group. They're really going to be random. I don't know what it is, so we're just going to get going, and this is going to be fun and interesting. First question, new to homeschool tips. So if you're new to homeschool, I think it's always best to start out by giving your child time just to learn to relax, be themselves, and discover what they love, and to bond with you. So the beginning of homeschool shouldn't necessarily look like this great big first day of school where everything's all serious, but it can be a time where you're starting out with like a field trip, a trip to the library, and just getting to know your child and exploring what they love. And that's what I would do. Begin homeschooling with just a nice schedule that allows you time to really get to know your child and become a student of your child. Do books where you read out loud, you spend time in nature, and you do stuff you both enjoy doing. And then as you spend a little bit of time, maybe a week or two, just having adventures with your child and getting to know them, then begin to introduce the structure. I'm sure we'll be talking more and more about what structure looks like when you're fun schooling. I'm a mom with 15 kids, homeschooling. I've graduated seven of them. So we've got 7 or 8 left to go. And so I have a lot of different ideas to share. What works with one kid definitely doesn't work with the other. But one way or another, fun schooling works for everybody. How do you plan a typical day for multiple students? So when you're homeschooling and you have a family, maybe you have 2, 4, 6, 8 kids, I don't know. But it's not like you're a teacher who's going to be sitting in a classroom teaching a grade level. So when you have multiple students, there's all kinds of fun things you can do together. And I highly recommend using unit studies where all your kids can engage together in one topic and can learn together. And so the whole family could be studying France, or the whole family could be studying frogs. There's so many ways to do it. Another thing is if you have little ones and older kids, I used a lot of documentaries, and we didn't let our kids just watch TV or be on a computer. So when we were watching documentaries, that was a great time where the younger kids would be watching their documentary and I would be working one-on-one with the older ones. And so don't be afraid to use technology and use resources really wisely. So maybe you have a math game on the computer. Give one kid the math game while you focus on the other one when you need that one-on-one time. Let's do the next question. How do I teach reading while unschooling? So fun schooling and unschooling aren't exactly the same thing, but they do have a lot in common. With fun schooling, we get a lot more structured and we focus on the child's passions, interests, career goals, dreams, hobbies, but we're a little more structured in that we build their curriculum with them around those passions and around those dreams. And one way I love to teach my unschoolers and my fun schoolers how to read is by reading books together that they love. So just because you're unschooling, it doesn't mean that you're not going to teach your child anything. So what you're going to do is you're going to wait until your child begins to ask questions. Like, what's that letter? What's that word? How do I spell this? How do I spell that? My style of teaching kids to read is a lot like unschooling because I have kids that are dyslexic and I want to wait until they're ready to begin reading before we get started with reading. And so I'll read to them a lot and I'll expose them to a lot of reading and writing. And when they're about 5 or 6 years old, I usually get them started on Dyslexia Games Series A to get them really familiar with writing and with letters. But that, when you're unschooling, what you usually do is you model learning and you surround your child with lots of resources where they can spark curiosity and get interested in things. And then you you just begin to just feed them resources based on what they love. Because when kids get to study what they love, they are passionate learners. The reason unschooling can work so well with many kids is because there's really only 3 reasons why we learn anything. Number 1, we learn something because we want to learn it. We love it. Number 2, because we need to learn something. I mean, it's survival. We need to learn something for our lives, for our businesses, for our social lives, whatever it is, run our homes, run our lives, we need it. And then the third reason we learn things is because we're being forced and pressured into it by an authority. And a lot of times that is the worst way to learn anything, is when somebody is forcing you to learn on their own timeline. So fun schooling and unschooling work so well because what you're doing is you're following the child's lead. You're introducing them to learning adventures and ideas, and you get to just have so much fun just learning with your child, doing things with your child. If you want your child to love learning, model a love for learning. If you want your child to love to read, read. And kids really do pick up reading. Some of my kids I taught to read. Some of them really just got interested, started asking questions. And when you're unschooling, you're responding to your child's questions. So with unschooling, your child's going to come and they're going to say, what's this word? What's this letter? How do I spell this? The important thing to do, whether you're unschooling, fun schooling, or doing any other method of homeschooling, when your child asks a question, you need to stop what you're doing and you need to focus on your child and you need to help them answer that question. How do you teach boundaries with screens, cell phones, and does YouTube have boundaries? So I found that as soon as kids get addicted to media, phones, computers, YouTube, anything, they begin to lose interest in the natural world. And that's a sad thing because they become so focused and their brains just get so drawn into the digital world that they begin to get bored and dissatisfied with reality. We don't want that to happen. It's not just about the bad stuff out there on the internet. It's about kids losing their love for life, adventure, outdoors, for play. And there's just something so addicting about getting on a media. So what I do is I wait as long as possible before giving my kids their own devices. And I'll just tell you how we do it at our house. It's worked pretty good. What we have is for all the younger kids, they have their own laptop and their laptops only go to pre-approved websites. And so they have like 7 or 8 pre-approved websites that we trust. And the kids can get on there. There's a time limit on their computer. So after 1 hour, their computers turn off, and then I need to put in a password to give them more time. I don't think that young children need more than an hour a day on a personal device. So we also have, we do World Watch and we do some documentaries a few times a week, and these things we do together. So on our TV, we have a password, and only my husband and I and one of our adult kids who lives here has that password. So the kids can't just get on TV and watch what they want. The kids generally don't have their own phone until they're usually 16 or 17. And even then they have time limits and we do have filters. We have a filter on our Wi-Fi that keeps inappropriate content from getting to anybody who's tuned into our Wi-Fi. So it is a battle. It's a real battle trying to keep kids safe on the internet and keep them from getting addicted to the internet and keep them from wasting their time online. But there are some awesome resources that your kids are going to want to tap into. And so the key is teach your children to use the computers, the phones, the tablets, and YouTube as a tool and not a toy. It should not be an entertainment device for bored kids. It should be used for learning, for research, for discovery, and for just exploring new information and building relationships. So ask yourself, is my child just defaulting to time on screens because they're bored? or because they're wanting to learn or they're wanting to do something creative. Are they being creative? That's a good thing. So as my kids get older, maybe like 10 years old, we give them more time. But they're not supposed to get on their device until they've finished their chores, finished their schoolwork, played outside, and worn themselves out being active. And so generally, when we're sticking to the rules around here, sometimes we have days where we're more free, sometimes we have days where we're a little more strict about screen time. We won't even have an option for them to get on a computer before 4 o'clock, and then it will automatically go off after an hour. I love Minecraft for the kids. We play it usually for the younger kids in creative mode. They're building worlds. It's creative. But, I love seeing them play with Legos too. So it's not like we let them just play Minecraft nonstop. So think about it. What are your kids doing online? Are they building healthy relationships? Are they being creative? Are they researching? Beginning to transition to fun schooling with reluctant writers. So most kids are reluctant writers because they're beginners. So I would say, how old is that reluctant writer? All my kids were pretty much reluctant writers until they were 11, 12, 13 years old. And so what we do is we keep it fun. And one thing I do with all the kids from a young age is copy work. That's helping them to develop writing skills without them having to create the content themselves, because kids aren't really ready to write original work a lot of the time until they are 11, 12, 13, or even 14 years old. So we start out by having them do small amounts of copy work a few times a week and expanding that as the years go by and as they get older to more and more. Now, if you have a child who really struggles with writing for one reason or another, you can have them dictate into a voice-to-text program that really helps. Another thing is let them have a secret journal where they're not having their writing evaluated. Another thing I do is when I give them a writing assignment, I will circle everything they did right instead of focus on those few things that they did wrong. Encourage your child, if they write, just value what they have written. Be excited about it. Your child will not be a reluctant writer if they see that people are excited by the things that they're writing. And if you want your kids to write, you need to write too. So write notes to your kids. They'll love it. Write on a chalkboard, write stuff on the refrigerator, write verses and inspirational quotes on your walls, and let them see you writing. One reason why kids are reluctant writers is because they don't see adults writing anymore. It's very important for them to see the movements of how you hold the pen, how you write in print, how you write in cursive, how you write fun fonts. It's going to matter so much. Be an example and let your kids see you writing. And over time, they're not going to be a reluctant writer. But if you're worried about your 7, 8, or 9-year-old being a reluctant writer, they almost all are. Okay, do you have suggestions for kids with dysgraphia? Now, I designed the dyslexia series called Dyslexia Games, and that was originally created for kids with dyslexia. But I have heard so many good things about parents who have kids with dysgraphia. They use Dyslexia Games Level A to get their kids with dysgraphia to begin writing and drawing with more control and with more focus. It's low pressure, it's a lot of fun, and it really works. So give that a try. I'm more of an expert on the autism, ADHD, and dyslexia, but I know that a lot of kids with dysgraphia love Dyslexia Games Level A. So usually Level A is for ages 5 to 8, but if you have a kid with dysgraphia, all ages need to start with Level A. Okay, how to support different types of learners and same age and learners and ages at the same time. That's why we fun school, because this allows us to just collaborate as a family to learn together, all ages, all stages, all learning styles. And so we get in trouble when we try to make everybody the same. We don't need our kids to be standardized. We don't need them all to do the same work. We don't even need everything to be fair. So Don't worry about making it fair. Don't worry about making them the same. The first step is to value the individuality of every child and to begin to just open up the world of wonders to them. Understand what every child is excited about, what they want to be. Ask your kids questions, answer their questions, and then you're going to begin to discover what your kids love and then begin to introduce to them opportunities during homeschooling to focus on the things that they love. And then you're going to find that it's going to help you to be able to homeschool multiple ages and multiple personality types at the same time. There are all different ways to manage different ages and stages and personalities. And like I said earlier, you might have one kid watching a documentary while you're working one-on-one with the other. How to start fun schooling with a 6-year-old who hasn't been schooled yet. Guess what? If your 6-year-old hasn't been schooled yet, then they are fun schooling already. So you just keep doing what you're doing and add more books, add more games, add more documentaries. Going from just living the beautiful life with your 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and then beginning with fun schooling is such an easy and joyful transition. You get to go places, you got to do things. Fun schooling is different because it's so much more like real life. Think about how you as an adult love learning things. You love learning things by reading books, by exploring, by doing projects. Kids do too. 6-year-olds love fun schooling. So you can start with some of our beginners fun schooling books, and you wouldn't do more than 5 or 6 pages a day. And when you're getting started, do it together and make sure you have a mom school journal that you're doing. The most powerful way to influence your child in homeschooling is to homeschool along with them. So rather than playing the teacher role, play the student role. And go ahead and get a mom school journal or take turns with a fun school journal with your new fun schooler. This works with any age. They do a page, you do a page. They do a page, you do a page. Or they do half the page, then you do half the page. But getting started by doing it together is a great idea. I always recommend if you're getting started from scratch with a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old with fun schooling, go ahead and jump into dyslexia games because it teaches focus, precision, logic, literacy, artistic skills, and it just primes the brain for exceptional learning, and it's amazing. Once they get through dyslexia games, they are so attentive to detail. It expands their attention span, and it's just a great tool to get started, and it's totally do it yourself. You'll help the child with like 1 page and off they go. So let's see what the next question is. And thank you guys for submitting these questions. Love it. Routines. It's not even a question. It just says routines, exclamation point. Well, I'll tell you how we do routines. Raising 15 kids, it all revolves around food. Because that's all the kids really care about is food. If they're hungry, nothing else is going to happen in your house. They're going to be whiny and fussy. So we just make it all revolve around food. Chores revolve around food. Homeschooling revolves around food. And food revolves around food. So I'll tell you what my routine looks like. It's a little different pretty much every day because I'm in a stage now where all my kids are older. So a lot of them have their own routine. But on an ideal, perfect day where I'm running the show, here's how it goes. So, and it's just great because I'm in what we call the queen stage. And my kids a lot of times, they do what they're supposed to do and they help the house run smoothly. So on a perfect day, and there's very few of these, I just want you to know, very few perfect days, but they do happen. We have a schedule where 2 of the kids get up early and they make sure the house is clean for the day. We have a checklist with like 15 different jobs on it, and they run around and they make sure all those jobs are done. And then the breakfast kid has breakfast ready by 9 o'clock. The kid who sets the table has the table set, and at least 5 minutes before breakfast, somebody runs around and tells everybody, breakfast, 5 minutes. And then after breakfast, we immediately do our Bible story. A lot of times we have a little music time, Bible story, and we talk about what's happening that day. After Bible story, we all, well, not all of us, but everybody usually under like 14 years old watches World Watch, which is a daily news show. And so we'll turn that on. It's a 15-minute news show, but a lot of times it goes a little later because We want to explain things and we pause it and we talk to them. That's kind of our social studies, current events. There's always some science in there. There's also a lot of good math because numbers are everywhere. Then after World Watch, everybody does their chores for like 10 to 30 minutes. Everyone has a zone in the house that they're responsible for. So after World Watch, they run around, they clean their zone, they load the dishwasher, they take out the trash, they clear the table, they feed the animals. And then for the younger kids, it's time for them to do their fun schooling journals. Usually by the time they're like 13 or 14, their homeschooling is a lot more business, entrepreneurship, and project-based. So they're doing less fun schooling journals. Maybe they have one or two going, but they're going to be focused on reading really good literature and focused on building their careers. And it's really at about age 13 or 14, they are focused on their major and they're getting in what we call the 10,000 hours. And so the older kids, they know what they want to do with their lives, or at least they think they do, and they're excited about it. And we stock them up on everything they need. We get them the books they need, the videos they need, any courses. We get them into apprenticeships. We find them mentors. We just get them the supplies they need to study what they need to do what they're going to do. So the older kids, after breakfast, are off doing their serious work, getting ready for life. The younger kids are doing their fun schooling journals, and we do pages by ages. So a 6-year-old will do 6 pages in maybe 2 fun schooling journals, maybe 6. It depends on the kids. If they're the explorer type, they might do 1 page in 6 different books. If they're the detective type, they might just have 1 book that they're deeply focused on. If they're a creator, they're going to probably be doing less in the fun schooling journals and more project-based homeschooling. But for the creators, we have to set some goals. Like, you need to finish this, and then you can work on your super awesome, amazing project. And but sometimes it's such a super awesome, amazing project that you just need to get into it. You just need to get into it. You need to set them free to do that thing because they are creating a masterpiece. Then the routine is after they spend their time doing their pages, then it's going to be lunch, and then it's going to be chores, and then it's projects and playtime for everyone. It's getting out and running around, shopping, taking care of animals, playing with animals, playing games, doing chores. I love to send them outside every single day after lunch to just do what kids should be doing, playing outside. Kids just need to be outside in the dirt, super healthy. So they're going to be doing their projects, doing their playtime, and then not until about 3 or 4 o'clock, they'll wander in, Mom, can I do PBS Kids? Can I watch Wildcats? Can I do my Time for Learning? Can I do Always Ice Cream? We just have a few different websites that they can go to. And if I feel like they've done their chores, the room is clean, they played outside long enough, and they finished their schoolwork, then they get to have their computer time. That turns off after an hour, and then before long, it's dinner time. And so include your children in making meals. It's just such an important learning experience. So I hardly ever have to do the chores or the cooking anymore. I enjoy doing it, and I like teaching the kids how to do stuff. But because I have so many teenagers, I'm kind of in a stage where they're totally capable. I want my kids to learn how to run a house, so I'm letting them get practice. I usually go to bed before the kids because I'm tired out, and for some reason they're not. So I kind of disappear usually like by 9:30, 10 to just go take a shower, read a book, have a cup of tea, spend time with my husband, and the kids are just doing their thing, and my husband does the tuck-ins. He lets me just totally relax while he tucks in the kids and make sure they're all settled, but sometimes he totally just forgets to tuck them in, and they just run wild till midnight. Really happens. So, working while homeschooling. If you're fun schooling, it's going to be great. Once they get in the groove of fun schooling, it's really becomes a do-it-yourself education where I'm able to work and run a homeschool co-op and help with a political campaign and do the business and do the family because my kids are fun schooling and it's do-it-yourself thing. Once they know how to read, they can do it. I created the books so that they would be able to just do the work without me having to constantly be over their shoulder. They are fun schooling journals. They're a lot more personal than textbooks and workbooks. The kids customize them. They love them. They can use them as scrapbooks. And because they're studying what they love, it frees me up to do my work. I mean, I work from home, but sometimes I have to go out too. Working while homeschooling can be a big challenge, but the nice thing about homeschooling is it doesn't matter what time of day it happens. So where there's a will, there's a way. If you're a working mom and you're a homeschooling mom, you can make it work. And just remember, don't give up your dream to homeschool. If that's what's on your heart, just make it work. You can find ways to make it work. You can take your children to work with you. You can choose a new work opportunity that allows you to work from home. Don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to work towards a vision, a long-term vision. Think, what do you want to be doing 3 years from now? And go for it. Begin to just plan. If what you're doing right now is not ideal and it's really what you don't want to be doing it long-term, you're wearing yourself out, think about making little changes to make your life look like what you want it to look like. And that means maybe rethinking how you work, where you work, and what you do to make it more conducive to the family life that you want to live. Really, where there's a will, there's a way. You can do it. You can collaborate with other moms and, even other working moms. And you can say, hey, I'll take your kids on for one day a week if you'll take my kids on for one day a week. There's ways to do it. You are free to be creative, find solutions. You don't have to be like everybody else, and you don't have to standardize your kids. They're going to turn out just like you, so just be the best version of you because that's really all we can do. We can try teaching them, but really, they're just going to follow our example, so be a good example. So, high school prep for college. So, I'm not really good at this because when my kids are 13, they are doing their major and we don't think about doing college after high school. We think about doing an alternative to college during high school. So the best preparation for the future of my kids, for their future education, for their future career, is to really go straight into their majors, straight into their career prep, as early as possible, so their preparation for college means that their homeschooling through the high school years are going to be much more customized around their career. They're going to have an awesome portfolio, and they're going to be ready to do what they dream of doing. If they really do need college to pursue the career that they want, not just because grandma says everybody has to go to college or you're a bad mom, that's not what we're talking about. Not everybody has to go to college to prove that you're a good mom, that you're a good dad. Forget that. Think about, where does your child need to be in 10 or 15 years, and what is the best way to get them there? So often, college is not the answer. Imagine investing $10,000 in your child's first business instead of $100,000 for them to get a degree. Imagine if you had $100,000 to get a degree, what if you taught them how to invest in real estate and allowed them to put that $100,000 into a real estate project instead? There are so many things that you could do that would be so much more productive for your child than just thinking that you got to spend $80,000 or $100,000 on college. How could you improve your life by investing $80,000 in your business? How could you improve your child's life by investing $10,000 in their business? What if instead of college, you found somebody who's doing exactly what your child dreams of doing, and you hire them for $100 an hour for 20 hours, okay? To teach your child to do everything they do? It's going to be a whole lot cheaper than college, and they're going to be getting one-on-one expert training. That's what we did with a couple of our kids. There are so many options. College doesn't have to be it, But if you are wanting to homeschool for college, you might just want to get one of those really standardized college prep curriculums for your kids. And if they love it and they want to move forward, do the college thing, that's great. If not, there's lots of amazing options for preparing your children to be adults. How do I get over burnout? I have to get over burnout like every week. Because by the end of the week, who is not burnt out? Getting over burnout is something that we have to do at least once a week. Or we're just going to be in survival mode. So burnout and survival mode are two different things. So before you go into burnout, you are burning. You are just a fire. You're getting things done. You're accomplishing everything. And then what do? You run out of fuel. So to avoid burnout, you got to give yourself fuel. You have to remember your self-care. You have to invest in yourself. You have to do fun things that you love so that you can fuel your own fire. Because if you don't have fuel, you are not going to be a fun mom. You are not going to be a nice wife. I mean, maybe you're a better person than I am, but if I don't take care of myself, and honestly, moms, who else is going to take care of you, okay? I mean, your husband, there's still lots of love, lots of wonderful times together, but he's not there to keep you out of burnout. That's not his job. He's trying to provide for the family too. He's trying to keep this family going. And so if you're burnt out and he's burnt out, you're going to have problems. So you need to focus on self-care. And so what I do is I have my mom's school basket where I have all the things I love in there. I have candles, tea, coffee, chocolate, essential oils, books I love, journals, art supplies, more books I love. And I make sure that when I'm starting to feel burnt out, I just go find a way to have some me time. And it is okay. You can turn on a movie for your kids for 2 hours and you can have some mom time. You have permission. It is okay. Do not feel guilty. Take care of yourself. And that way you won't burn out. But when you do burn out, you just need to give yourself more fuel. If you're in survival mode, that means you burnt out a long time ago and you're just trying to live. You need a whole new restart. And that begins with some perspective, and it begins with making new goals, and it begins with just getting out of the normal. Maybe you seriously need to ask mom or grandma or aunt or a friend from church, hey, can you please help? I'm really struggling. Do you think you could watch my kids for a couple hours so I can just take myself out for coffee? You need to do that. You know, women used to be surrounded by community where you need help. Your mom, your aunt, your grandma, they all live really nearby, and families raise their children together, and life was hard. You know, now we have a washing machine instead of a grandma. We have a dishwasher instead of an aunt, but it doesn't replace just that joy and love that comes from connecting with family. If you don't want to burn out and you want to get out of survival mode, you need to make community a priority. So maybe there isn't a community where you can just feel comfortable, then you might need to create one, because there are so many lonely moms, and you can end the loneliness for a couple of people. You just need to make the effort. There are ways to do it. There really are. There's so many opportunities for you to end your loneliness and help other people end their loneliness. You can start by finding some people that are Facebook friends that you don't get together with and plan to get together. I've made a little book about 30 creative projects, a co-op handbook. You can get my little co-op handbook and you can start a homeschooling co-op for 5 families in your community, and then you'll have an awesome little community. Build community, be part of community. And I love creating community where the moms and the children are all gathering together and doing fun stuff together. We don't need to isolate ourselves from our children so that we can have relationships. Build relationships with other moms. Sometimes it gets messy and drama and gossip and all that. It's okay. You can handle it. You got through middle school. You can handle this. Mama drama is nothing any worse than the middle school drama that you survived. And so it's okay. Go have some mama drama, make some friends. It's okay. Just go for it. How to strew with journals. So if you're using fun schooling journals, you can open up a journal, get out some art supplies, put it on the table, get started on that journal. Maybe it's the cat or the dinosaur one. You just set up some dinosaurs, you set up some dinosaur books, you get out the dinosaur fun schooling journal, do a little bit of work, let your kids see you doing it, turn on some music, walk away. As long as there's no access to computers, phones, devices, tablets, TVs. And if it's a rainy day, they might just tackle it. Fun schooling older kids with special needs and older kids who struggle with reading and writing. Fun schooling works great for kids with special needs and older kids who struggle with reading and writing. So I would say just do it. Just take it slower. So if you have a special needs kid, maybe 12 years old, maybe they're only going to do 3 pages in their fun schooling journals, and that's okay. Another thing, do it together, collaborate. Kids with special needs need to collaborate. They need to do it together. They need to see your example. And they need interaction. So do it together. Instead of having them do a fun schooling journal alone, you and the child or an older sibling and that child or a younger sibling, do it together, make it a group project, collaborate. They're going to love it so much more than if you say, sit in that desk and do this work. And for the things that they struggle with, let them see your example of doing that, and it's going to really help them learn. Tips on fun schooling a child who doesn't have motor skills to write or any interest in painting or coloring. Fun schooling means focusing on the things that your child does love, building a curriculum around that. So if you're fun schooling a child and they don't like writing, they don't like painting, they don't like coloring, then don't do that stuff. Do the stuff they do love and make sure that they're going deeper and deeper into the things they do love, learning, researching, answering questions together. As they get older, they will get more interested in the writing and things like that. And just because your kid doesn't like something today doesn't mean they're not going to like it tomorrow. And it depends on how your example is. If you're like, oh, I don't like writing, oh, I'm not an artist, oh, I don't like coloring, guess what your kid's going to do? They are going to be a mirror of you. So if you don't like writing, then there's a good chance they're not going to like writing. So step it up and be a model of what you want your kid to be and smile and be happy about it, and it will change their attitude. How do I manage a disinterested or distracted kid? So you're going to want to watch my podcast about the 5 learning styles: explorers, creators, followers, friend learners, and detectives. Your child might be distracted and bored because their schoolwork is boring. Okay? So stop the boring and start doing something that your child loves. It's that easy. Learning should not be boring. If your kid is distracted, there's a good chance that what you're doing is boring. Sometimes we feel all noble, oh, I'm a good mom because I make my kid do this really boring stuff. Who wants that? Look at your child's schoolwork. Would you sit down by yourself as 30-year-old you or whoever you are and want to do that? If you wouldn't want to spend your time on that boring workbook, they shouldn't have to spend their time on it either. There's always a better way to learn that sparks a child's curiosity. If you want a child to learn and to not be distracted, there's a few things you need to do. Number 1, there has to be a spark of curiosity. If there's no spark of curiosity, your child is not going to be interested in learning. Number 2, they need to go on a quest for knowledge. The quest, their own desire to find answers is the driving force of learning. If there is no quest, there is no learning. Then, next thing is that they need to have the moment of discovery. This is really important. If you don't have a moment of discovery when you're on a quest to learn something that you're curious about, your brain's not going to remember. So to be able to remember something, there has to be that moment of, I found it. And then it goes down in their long-term memory and it's stored there for later. If school, super boring, there's no curiosity, there's no quest, there's no moment of discovery, guess what? Your child's going to forget everything. So stop the boring schoolwork. Now, the fourth step to learning is to create or do something new from the knowledge that you've gathered. This is the pinnacle of learning, to take knowledge that you already have and then create something new, to do something new, to apply that learning in a new situation. So if your child can take something that they learned in one situation and apply it to another, then you know they've really mastered it. And then the final step in learning something is to teach or share with another person what you have learned. So these things are not happening in boring, normal school curriculum. It's not happening. Curiosity, not there. Quest for knowledge, not there. Moment of exciting discovery, not there. Creating of something new is not there. And the sharing part and the teaching others out of the joy of learning is not there. It's not real learning, and that's why kids struggle. That's why they're bored. That's why they're distracted. All the fun schooling journals I've created are based on the system that I've discovered where kids need to learn through curiosity, quest, creativity, discovery, and sharing. So that's why so many kids like fun schooling more. The kids who struggle with fun schooling, a lot of times it's because their parents don't trust the process and are trying to get it to look more like typical school. So you got to get it out of your head. It's not typical school. We have a lot of learning prompts and curiosity prompts and research prompts where there's so many different answers, and that's okay. But you got to start with things your kids are curious about. They're not going to be interested. They're distracted. That's because it's boring. Children with special needs, autism, ADHD, dyslexia. So I have kids that have symptoms, all these things. And that's why we fun school, because kids with autism, they love digging deep into their special interests. And with homeschooling and fun schooling, you can do that. Kids with ADHD, they love to explore. They love to learn new stuff. They don't sit still. They want to be on their feet. They want to be running around. Homeschooling is great because your active child can be active. You just have to understand that your lessons and their sit down and learn something, 5-10 minutes, and then they are off. So you need to have like academic, followed by creative, followed by a little academic, doing something active, followed by a little more academic stuff, doing something passive, followed by a little more academic stuff. You can't just pile on the academics with a child with ADHD. They're gonna forget everything. TED Talks. They're 18 minutes long because the adult attention span crumbles after 18 minutes. So why are we trying to keep our kids sitting still learning something for 20, 30, 40 minutes? How do I create a schedule for older students? Older students need to create their own schedules, really, and it should revolve around the family schedule. So they need to be up at a certain time at the table, but you need to release them as they're getting older to organize their own stuff. They need to learn how to make task lists, how to make to-do lists, because they're growing up and they're going to need to organize their own time. Fun schooling journals for older kids have a system within them of structure that says, do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. And that really helps. We tackled lots of questions today. I got a new podcast coming. It's called The Fun School Show. I've already recorded 5 podcasts for you guys, and it's great. We get into lots of these kinds of questions. We go really deep into it to really give you the tools to create the fun schooling lifestyle that you dream of. You had a dream. You wanted to create a life with your child that was going to just be this beautiful thing where you're learning together and preparing them for life. You can have that dream, but you gotta let go of standardization and all the pressure from all the neighbors and all the relatives and all the people at church and everybody else. You need to allow your child to flourish, to become who they were meant to be. So